The Freeland-Ukraine revolving door is hard to defend, and her exit from cabinet by this Friday shows how fast the Liberal spin machine moves when conflicts of interest meet public pushback. So let's dig in. Archived video is resurfacing that adds critical context to former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland's newly announced role as an economic advisor to President Zelenskyy, and it raises even more serious questions about foreign entanglement and long-standing political advocacy that have come to define the Liberal legacy. In one clip from 2015, Freeland urges Canadians to get over Ukraine fatigue, openly acknowledging that corruption remains widespread and that economic reforms are painful and unpopular, yet still declaring Ukraine's government at the time the best they've ever had.
And I think something that as a Homa that we have to get over is maybe Ukraine fatigue. I genuinely believe that Ukraine now has turned a new page. And I really think that this is the moment when Ukraine is really turning onto the right path. I don't think we should be naive about it. It's not, it's far from perfect. Ivan talked about the reforms. And, of course, those reforms are incomplete. Of course, there is still corruption in Ukraine. And of course, there is increasingly popular dissatisfaction with the government because the structural economic reforms are very painful. But I really believe this is the best government Ukraine has had in its entire history. And I think Ukrainian civil society today is more united than it has been in its history.
These clips from August 2015 show Freeland discussing Canadian foreign and defense policy regarding Ukraine in a Toronto town hall moderated by Liberal MP Arif Virani. In it, she goes further, floating the idea of outsourcing Ukraine's Supreme Court to foreign, including Ukrainian-Canadian judges, as a way to break the chain of corruption.
He said, well, I have this idea. The way we would get rid of corruption is have our whole Supreme Court be staffed by Ukrainian-Canadian judges. And I thought he was joking. But look, he has Natalka Yuresko as his Minister of Finance. He has a Lithuanian as his Minister of the Economy and Georgian as his Minister of Health. And he has Saakashvili as the Governor of Odessa and Maria Gaidar as the Deputy Governor. So he understands that that's a great way to break the chain of corruption.
Yes, that's right. A now sitting Canadian MP who's set to take on an advisory role within the Ukrainian government publicly entertained the idea of replacing a sovereign country's judiciary with foreign nationals. In a second video, Freeland is even more explicit about her political role. She boasts of being a strong voice inside the Liberal caucus on Ukraine, saying that she does not freelance on the issue and states plainly that she speaks with the full support and backing of the party. She frames Ukraine not as a humanitarian concern, but as a Canadian national interest, and urges Ukrainian Canadians to support the Liberals over other parties, dismissing Conservatives outright and attacking the NDP's leadership.
I am 100% confident that a Liberal government would be a better supporter of Ukraine than any other government. 5 reasons. 1, you see here we have some very strong, extremely well-informed voices for Ukraine inside the Liberal caucus. And I would also commend Ralph Goodale, Kevin Lamoureux, Mark Garneau. Very well-informed, very supportive of Ukraine. And we are powerful voices inside the Liberal caucus. Boris spent a lot of time in Ottawa during this crisis, coming in, briefing the caucus. I am a strong voice in the caucus on Ukraine. And I don't freelance. What I say about Ukraine, I say with the full support and backing of the party behind me.
This is clearly partisan advocacy, not diplomacy. Basically, a decade before billions in Canadian taxpayer money was sent abroad to Ukraine, and long before she would later step into this formal advisory role for the very government she has been championing all along. Now, let's just connect the dots. Freeland oversaw record deficits and debt here in Canada. She helped authorize the freezing of Canadians' bank accounts in 2022 for their political dissent against the Liberals. She funneled over $22 billion to Ukraine. She became Canada's special envoy for Ukraine's reconstruction. She remains a sitting MP until Friday, who tried to originally give herself an undetermined number of weeks to leave the role and then quickly pivoted to days after massive public backlash. And now, well, she's still going to ride off into the sunset with an advisory role with Zelenskyy directly. Only after I and others had sent media requests and called this out on social media did she claim the role is unpaid and announce plans to step away. Moves that not only should have happened before accepting the position, but should undoubtedly trigger a conflict of interest investigation. In response to these revelations and the conflict of interest and ethics commissioner's lackluster and really dismissive response to me, followed by an abrupt hang-up.
So I'll send you this email. Thanks and have a great day.
Oh, thanks. Bye. I've formally followed up with the office to inquire whether sitting MPs are permitted to hold advisory or consultative roles with foreign governments, what disclosure or approval requirements apply, whether such roles raise concerns about preferential treatment or improper influence, and how oversight is exercised when potential conflicts arise. The Commissioner's office had previously declined to clarify whether Freeland's situation constitutes a conflict, and now the Commissioner's office has doubled down on that procedural language, hiding behind confidentiality and case-by-case advice, while again evading calling out this clear conflict of interest. Canadians are being asked to accept that this is all normal, that a sitting MP can advocate aggressively for a foreign state, help direct billions in aid, and then step seamlessly into an advisory role with that same government, all while Canadians and our own economies tank. Elbows up, big banking aficionado Prime Minister Mark Carney, well, he says that Ukraine's cause, their freedom, democracy, and sovereignty is our cause.
We're announcing today further economic assistance for Ukraine, $2.5 billion worth of economic assistance that helps unlock financing from the IMF.
Really? If Ukraine's fight is truly Canada's fight, why does it feel like Canadian priorities, crumbling economy, housing crisis, skyrocketing debt, are getting sacrificed on the altar of endless foreign aid, while insiders cash in on these connections? It's swampy cronyism dressed up as virtuous solidarity. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. You took action at firefreeland.ca, and she pivoted from stepping away in the weeks to come to days. If you'd like to see similar reporting and support these efforts, head on over to firefreeland.ca. That's firefreeland.ca.